In combat medicine, every second matters. A recent multinational training exercise in Europe tested one new way to reduce risk and improve outcomes. Here with more on that game-changing innovation is the commander of the 30th Medical Brigade, Colonel Anthony King. Colonel King, thanks so much for joining me today.
Yes, Terry, thank you for having us. What a grand opportunity to tell our story.
Well, I want to have you tell your story. Let's start by explaining a little bit about what 30th Med Brigade is, what you do, where you're located.
Yes, ma'am. So 30th Med Brigade is headquartered in Simbach, Germany. The brigade is a subordinate unit to the 21st Theater Sustainment Command. Our mission is to provide expeditionary health service support and force health protection in support of U.S. Army, Europe, and Africa. The brigade itself is comprised of 3 subordinate organizations. We have a headquarters and headquarters company, the 519 Hospital Center, which includes the 512 Field Hospital. And then our last major unit is the 421st Multifunctional Medical Battalion that's stationed in Baumholder, Germany. On a daily basis, these units allow us to provide the 10 medical functions that the Army identifies. Basically, that includes U.S. Role 3 combat health support. We do resuscitative surgery and damage control forward. And we also provide mission command to follow-on forces of those that are assigned and attached to us.
That's a huge and important mission, so I want to start up front by thanking you and your team for your service and your support. You've been playing a key part in this big training exercise, Defender 25. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, who you're working with, what the focus of the training exercise is?
Yes, ma'am. So Defender itself is an acronym. It stands for the Dynamic Employment of Forces to Europe, for NATO deterrence and enhanced readiness. For Defender 25 specifically, normally it's a large-scale U.S. Army exercise that tests our ability to quickly and effectively get American troops to deploy to Europe and defend the eastern flank with our NATO allies and partners. It starts annually around mid-April, and it'll go till June. But basically getting equipment and personnel from the U.S. over here in Europe and test our ability to provide power projection and get capabilities here in Europe. The exercise is phased over 3 major exercises. You might have heard of Swift Response, Immediate Response, and Saber Guardian. Each one of those have different objectives. We participated in Swift Response this year, and we can talk a little more about that, but that was our major contribution to Defender Europe 25.
And within that, there was a major multinational hospital exercise, correct?
Yes, ma'am, it was. As I mentioned earlier, that's part of our business, the reason why we're here. So we have to test ourselves and our ability to do our mission. I have one of my commanders here, Colonel John Gorbet. He's very fortunate to be the commander of the 512 Field Hospital, and they were the major training audience for this exercise, establishing the hospital in an expeditionary manner. So me and John both can kind of share that. But we basically left Simbach, Kaiserslautern major area, and traveled by ground all the way to Lithuania over a 6-day period, moving our equipment. Now, we did have some assistance with others that are here, and that's part of their mission also. But we wanted to demonstrate our own ability to move ourselves and then get to our objective and do our mission. So, John, you got anything to add there?
Thank you, ma'am. Pleasure to actually be on with you. We took on something that really hasn't been done in quite some time. Moving our own assets and being employed in Lithuania was something that was very gratifying. My team really took on this challenge because there's a lot of different things we haven't practiced in many, many years. So with that, we have a unique opportunity to really look at the new way that we would be able to provide healthcare in a battlefield scenario. So we actually were fortunate enough to have a very austere environment and really practice our trade craft, our field craft at that point.
Austere for our listeners means you're not in buildings, you're not in a built-up environment, you're like intense, right?
Yes. We did have bunkers that we utilized as well as part of the training environment, which was to our benefit because it does help us get a little faster in what we do to set up. It was, out in the woods basically with no real amenities for sure. But that's something that we're getting back towards as a force, right? So we really need to practice that field craft. So with a hospital that's inherent, it has inherent challenges when you look at that, especially when you set up a hospital. So if you look at World War II, Korea, you start seeing some of those aspects. We're getting back to our roots.
I'm speaking with Colonel Anthony King, the commander of the U.S. Army's 30th Medical Brigade in Germany, and Lieutenant John Gorbea, the hospital commander that works with him. All right. So, Colonel King, there was a feature of this exercise that I do want to dig into a little bit, and that was a prototype of drone delivery of supplies. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes. So one of the key things about Defender, as I mentioned earlier, is bringing CONUS-based, when I say CONUS, Continental United States-based assets to Europe. And this year, we were very fortunate to have the 7384th Blood Support Detachment to join us. One of the things about that that's important, we're demonstrating the total Army medical force. And when we say that, we're talking about all components. Compo 1 being active duty, Compo 2 and 3 being National Guard and Reserve. So anytime we get that opportunity to serve together, we want to take advantage of it. And we truly appreciate having those citizen soldiers join us. And most times you won't even know that unless they tell you, because they are just as extremely professional and they know the expectation themselves. And so we're always happy to have them. And then there's a large percent of the capability that they are responsible for, believe it or not. So this year we had the 7384 join us. They are a blood support detachment. They are designed to manage blood products on the battlefield in an expeditionary manner. And then we teamed up with 173rd out of Italy, a maneuver force, to demonstrate that we could deliver blood for it in the case that we needed. Now, the drone itself, we don't own. It's not part of our assigned equipment, but it was a proof of concept that we were trying to demonstrate that we could, if required, if blood was needed, and that's the expectation in our business, we just have to be truthful with ourselves that things happen, and blood is a life-saving measure. So we have to get it as far forward as possible. So that was the intent, and that's what we were able to demonstrate.
So what was the advantage of using drone delivery for blood resupply?
Yeah, what we're learning is you can reduce time. Number one, you can prevent loss of life by using the drone to deliver it versus the human factor, putting soldiers at risk, putting them on the road, on the ground, whether it's at night or it's in a hostile environment, which we would expect. But it reduces them from leaving a protected environment, and we still get the product forward.
So in normal operations, you'd have blood resupply delivered by truck over road in a combat environment.
There's a series of nodes that we could use. We try to take advantage of being efficient as possible. We have our means of sustaining the blood over long periods of time. So anytime that we can get there faster, we become more efficient, but we do have that ability internal to our brigade to move those assets.
So how did this test go? What did you learn?
There's definitely room for us to use it, and we actually are behind it. At the same time, we understand there are limitations, there are priorities. We'll just have to wait our turn and see, if this proof of concept comes to fruition to where we can see that sometime in the future in our own footprint where we're using it on a regular basis.
And so what's the implication then of the drone delivery for your operations?
It makes us more responsive in a timely manner. I will say that always we want to maintain trust and confidence with those that we support. We often hear soldiers talk about if they were in a situation where they needed help, any kind of treatment, to look up and see the combat medic there, they felt they were in a good place at that point, that they were going to be okay. Their chances increase of survival if they saw the medic that they can trust giving them rendering aid to them. So this is just another aspect of that, enabling the medic on the ground to do their job faster, better, and with a whole lot of confidence within that individual also.
Will there be more iterations of the test? Are there other parts of this drone-enabled delivery that you want to continue to work on?
In the future, absolutely. There's nothing that we have planned as of right now. I could see us doing this annually as part of Defender. Each year, probably building on the previous year, just, testing the limits, doing more experimentation, doing more with our allies and their capabilities also. I think for all nations, we all are experimenting with this. And at some point, I could see us on the battlefield, maybe using another country's asset to deliver our own capability more efficient and effectively.
Colonel King and Colonel Gorbea, I want to thank you for taking the time out of what I know is a very busy day there to share your story with us.
No, again, we appreciate the opportunity. Preserving freedom.
Absolutely. On the front lines there. Thank you both. Colonel Anthony King is the commander of the U.S. Army's 30th Medical Brigade in Germany, and Lieutenant Colonel John Gorbet is his hospital commander. We'll post this interview at federalnewsnetwork.com/Federal Drive. Subscribe to the Federal Drive wherever you get your podcasts.